Well, hello everybody. Welcome to Young Adult Edition. We are in our brand new format here on Facebook Live, and we are so excited to see you. I'm K.m. Robinson, author of The Jaded Duology, and my beautiful co-host Elle Beaumont is here with me as well. Today we're talking all about villains, and we are going to be chatting with author J.M. Sullivan, who has an origin retelling twisted version of a well-known villain. We're going to be chatting with her today. We are so excited to see you. If you've got questions or comments, go ahead and let us know in the comment box below. Elle, how are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. J.M. Sullivan, thank you so much for joining us. What is new with you?
Not a whole lot. Last week was really busy, though, because I was finalizing my edits for my upcoming release, the Neverland Transmissions first book in the series, Second Star. So I've been doing lots of editing, lots of rewrites, and lots of work on a new villain. So it's been fun.
We're excited. We both actually read this story. Well, some of us have read more of it than the other, but you do have great villains in that one. I cannot wait so we can actually talk about that.
Yes.
I know we have to be pretty quiet because it's not out yet, but super excited, guys. And J.M. Sullivan is really good with her villains. Elle and I have both read all of everything that J.M. Sullivan has written about at this point. And I'm a big fan of her writing. Elle, tell us what you think.
I absolutely love J.M. stories. I obviously can't go into too much, but The Rise of Ursula was amazing. Absolutely amazing. I love to see the in-depth behind Ursula and the rise of her. So,
me too. She does such a good job twisting the origins of the Sea Witch from The Little Mermaid. And we are going to talk about that in a little bit. But guys, if you are joining us live or if you're joining us in the rebroadcast, we want to hear from you. Do us a favor and hit the share button so that other people can see this episode, can talk about villains with us. And go ahead and leave us a comment and let us know who your favorite villain is. We would love to hear who your favorite villain is, whether it is one of the well-known ones or one that is not so well-known. Let us know who your favorite villain is. And I just have a quick question I'm going to throw out before we jump into everything we're doing. To the ladies on the screen with me, who is your favorite villain? And let's just call it Disney. Who's your favorite Disney villain?
That's a good question. I feel like Disney does a really good job with villains, but I guess I'm going to have to say Ursula, which kind of makes sense since that's what I decided to retell. But like Disney's Ursula, she's just so cool. Like she has like literally no cares and she knows exactly who she is and she's proud of it and she's going to get her way. And I just think she's fabulous. So I think she's my favorite.
She's my favorite too, actually. I absolutely love her. And I don't know if you girls watch Once Upon a Time, one of my favorite shows. They actually based the Evil Queen, kind of some of her mannerisms, off of Ursula, which I thought was really cool. Something I identified as soon as I saw it on screen. So I'm a big fan of Ursula. And the fact that she gets to live under the water and be so vicious to everybody. And she just tells it like it is, which I love. How about you, Elle?
I actually... like you said, Jam, Disney does an amazing job with villains. And I found, of course, writing-wise, I found flaws with their stories. Like, I wanted to see more. The one character, really, that I was like, you know what? He is a really good villain. He not only kills his brother, but he tries to kill his nephew, too. And that would be Scar.
I love how you set that up. Like, we're going to make this big commercial for him, and then we're going to reveal who it is.
Like, yeah.
He has some of the best lines, I feel, in Disney movies. I just love it.
He's so done with everybody. Like, I'm surrounded by idiots. I think we can all relate to that.
That's my favorite line. It really is. Oh, goodness. I think that's hilarious. Hey, guys, if you are joining us, let us know what is your favorite twisted villain book. We'd love to hear from you. Tanya's hanging out with us today, and she says, on a scale of who I hate the most but respect the writing and characterization that makes him so despicable, the tops are Metatron from Supernatural. He's my mental personification of my inner critic. Oh, well, there we go.
Yeah.
Nice.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Let us know, which is your favorite book villain? Let us know in those comments. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. We've got some cool stuff going on today, and we actually have a little bit of a Q&A game. We're going to be asking some questions about villains. We are going to be talking a little bit about what makes them so cool. So, Elle, I know you've got some questions for us. Take it away.
I do. So what are you already picked your villains. What are your favorite traits? Name 3 of your favorite traits from your villain.
I think that we have just lost J.M. Sullivan, so we are going to try to add her back in real quick, and we're going to be talking about 3 traits. And so is that from the villains that I have written or from villains in general?
The villain that you picked from your Disney villain.
Oh, from my Disney villain.
Yep, from your...
I was in the process of trying to get her back. Okay. The 3 favorite traits, well, definitely that Ursula she doesn't care about what other people think. She's going to do what she's going to do, and she's going to be in your face about it. So I love that she's all glamorous. I guess that would be my second one. She's very glamorous. She does what she wants to do. And she's got a very big personality. So, which is basically the same thing as being kind of in your face. A third one. I have to be strategic about this. What is my third trait? Yeah, well, she's glamorous, and she also has her in-your-face attitude. She's also really good at getting her minions to do what she wants them to do. So she can convince people to do whatever it is that she wants, whether it's Ariel or it is going to be Flotsam and Jetsam, or she's going to get the prince to do what she wants him to do. So I love that about her. She's just very pushy. All right.
Abrasive.
Go ahead and give your answer. I'm going to try to get
Absolutely
back up while you are doing that.
So Scar is my favorite, and I would say that he's clever. He's always plotting, and you can see him really thinking. He doesn't give up. Is he the bravest? No, but he doesn't give up in his little cowardly way. And then also he's ruthless. I mean, he killed his brother, and he tried killing his nephew. So, and he also was starving the pride that he had just taken over. So, yeah.
That is a good point. He's pretty ruthless when it comes to what he wants and getting things done. We are still working on getting J.M. Sullivan back. We are having a little bit of tech problems here. But Helen is joining us. Hi, Helen. She says that the Witch of the Waste from Howl's Moving Castle is her favorite. Such an interesting character. You know, fun fact here, I have not actually seen. I know. Shocking, right? I haven't seen it, but all of my friends talk about it all the time, so I think perhaps I'm going to have to get that fixed. And J.M. Sullivan is back. Hi! We roll with the punches here. We were just answering Elle's first question about 3 traits that we love about the Disney villains that we just picked. So you're actually up. What do you got for us?
Oh, gosh. Well, I feel like I answered this a little earlier when I was telling you that she was my favorite.
Oh, and I think
no.
dead. Well, that is okay. We will try to get her back up. JM, if you can hear us, we just lost you again. Let's see. We are going to do our best to get her back up. But, Elle, I know you've got more questions for us. And if you are watching with the live broadcast here or the rebroadcast, whether you are here on Facebook Live or you are on our YouTube channel or over on our blog, go ahead and leave us some comment, love, because we want to hear from you. Feel free to answer these questions with us. So whichever character that you picked, let us know which 3 traits you love about them the most. Elle, what do you have for our next question?
Okay, don't mind me. I'm reading from my paper.
Go
If
for
you
it.
could step inside your favorite villain's shoes for the day, what would you do?
I would take over the sea. Assuming we're talking about Ursula, I would be in charge of all the mermaids. That is what I would do. I'd go live in the castle. It would be awesome. And I would probably siren some people up above the water as well, just because that seems like fun. And I might have somebody help me with a little mermaid makeover, because I feel like that would be pretty cool. You can tell I'm still very much in last week's mermaid episode.
Oh my goodness. All right. So my answer was, I wrote it down so I didn't actually forget it. I'm gonna be like, oh, okay. Assuming that this is prior to the fire falling off the cliff and being devoured by the hyenas, I would be plotting my brother's demise, and my plans for taking over the pride, and also a backup plan instead of allowing this uprise to happen. I would actually have a backup plan and have a fail-safe in place.
I think that's probably a very smart choice. JM, you are frozen on screen, but perhaps you can still have audio. Let us know if you can hear us. Thinking we're still having some problems here. At least we've got a cute frozen screen. She's got a cute one, at least. If I did it, it would not be good. All right, so if we can get her back, we will do our best to do that. Elle, what else do you have for us question-wise?
As your villain, Ursula, what would you like to accomplish as Ursula? And it can be off-canon. I know you just kind of partly answered that, but expand a little bit more. What would you do if you did rule that Mer Kingdom and you had sirened some humans? What would you do?
Okay, so if I could go through with my plan of taking over the ocean and the people above the ocean, I think that I would set up some kind of... Yeah, I'm very much getting into the head of my book right now, and I got to get out of my Siren War Saga series because I'm going to give everything away. I would use my ability to control the Mer Kingdom to... I would create like a mermaid lagoon. Yes, I would. And it would have big waterfalls, and all the ships would be out of the way, and the people could just serve us and be wonderful and take care of everything. We could just lounge all day in this mermaid lagoon owned by me as Ursula and my little eels, which I forgot the word for a second. My eels would go and do my bidding, and everyone would be wonderful, and we would just have like a mermaid salon and do hair, and it would be great. And then I would take over the above the sea worlds. So it was kind of like old school kingdom, so I would have a human kingdom too. But I would definitely take over, and it would be great, and it would be all about the mermaid hair and the beaches. How about you?
As Scar, I am reading again. So as Scar, I would make alliances outside of the hyenas, because I feel like that was one of his mistakes, putting all his eggs in one basket. I would branch out to have sleepers amongst the kingdom. Yeah. And I would start bringing in some of the Prideland creatures to back me. So when that uprising did happen, I had some insiders getting ready to take over.
I like it. That is smart. And if I had thought that through, that would probably be, I would have some mermaid spies. I'm like, what is my words? What are my words? It's a thing. It is a thing. As we're still attempting to get J.M. Sullivan back up, I'm thinking it is not going to work today, unfortunately. Sometimes we have technical problems. We're super sad. But we will fill in all of her info if we can get her back on. JM, if you can hear us, now might be a great time to try restarting. And hey, if you are here joining us live, go ahead and answer these questions with us as well. We want to hear from you guys. What would you do as your favorite villain? Let us know. All right, Elle, what do we have for our next question?
Lastly, who is your favorite villain that you've written personally?
Oh, okay, so I've got a lot of villains because I have a lot of books, and I've heard a lot of different answers from my fans on this. They all have different opinions. I think probably my worst villain would be the Commander from the Jaded duology. He's just pure evil. Like, he's a horrible, horrific person, and he comes up with the worst things to do to poor Jade. Well, mostly because he's trying to murder her, but he's horrible. So I feel like that's probably my favorite of my villains, but I'm also really a big fan of Lowell from the Golden trilogy. He is Goldilocks' cousin, and he sent her on a mission to destroy the Bear family. And he is just a terrible person who's out handling his vendetta against his former friends, now enemies, and it's just kind of like this nightmare situation. And he puts poor Goldilocks in a terrible, terrible situation. And so he was actually really fun for me to write. There's some other villains in that series too, but I think he was pretty fun for me to write, especially when I got to do my prequel novella, because I got to explore more of who he was before he sent Goldilocks on this mission, and he was worse then than he was now. Kind of a horrible human being, but that's fun. I also have the Piper from Along Came a Spider, My Legends Chronicles, which is a retelling of Little Miss Muffet and Little Bo Peep and a bunch of other nursery rhymes. So he's pretty interesting. And then we have a character who I can't tell you too much about because my Sleeping Beauty retelling is a virtual reality twist on Sleeping Beauty. And I kind of hide my villain, which you don't know until toward the end. You'll figure out who it is. But I definitely have some fans who feel like this particular person is my best villain because she uses lines like, "That's too pedestrian." So that was a Yentl quote right there for the biggest knower, but fun times. Tell us a little bit about yours.
So my favorite villain, I've only written one villain that is going to be published yet. And that would be Cregan. He is one of those villains that you can understand. He has a lot of reasonings for becoming bad. And if you looked at it in a different light, you'd go, is he actually bad though? Is he wrong in what he's doing? Or is he just taking it a little too far? But Cregan, he honestly does have a good heart. It's just, he takes things a little too extreme.
That's a lot like my character Shadow, who is from my Golden trilogy. He's maybe good, maybe he's bad. Sometimes he takes things too far, and he has a cult following. So that's all I'm saying. Yeah, it's fun. You're one of them. I know. I
do. And I actually do have one more question, and I wish Julie was here because she would actually love my answer. But I'm going to ask you, which villain do you wish was portrayed better in any way? Like in books, in TV shows, movies, which villain do you think should be portrayed better?
Oh, that's hard. Which villain do I think should be portrayed better? I would like to see more of characters like Jafar. I think they did a pretty good job, but I would also like to see a little bit more of him and what his deal is. I feel like there was one I just thought of and I also just lost. You're going to have a better answer for this. You answer and let me think about this.
Mine is actually Hook. I feel like Disney has portrayed him as like this bumbling fool, and he's not, like he is this clever, classy individual who I just feel like they're doing him a disservice because he's really not a fool. I think Hollywood and Disney live action has done better. Sorry, my dogs are barking. They've done better portraying Hook as somebody who's not a fool. But that's really the character that I would say I wish was portrayed better.
And good news, we have author J.M. Sullivan back with us. We were just talking about which villains we wish were portrayed a little bit better. Now that you're jumping back in with us, see if you can get us an answer before you vanish on us again.
Gosh, I know. I just feel like I don't even know what's going on with my internet. I blame that I'm in a different country. So that's my answer, and I'm sticking to it. The villains that I wish were portrayed better. Oh gosh, I feel like oh no, did you lose me again?
Nope, you're good.
Oh, thank goodness, I heard a click, and I was really worried. I feel like Maleficent, I love this, maybe even not be answering your question. I love what Disney did in the live action version, because I feel like in the first one, in the cartoon, like she was bad, but I feel like there wasn't really a whole lot of why she's bad. Like she got offended that she wasn't invited to a party, and then she got like really upset and ruined people's lives, which I didn't really like a lot. But I feel like Disney really redeemed themselves a lot when they did the live action version. And so that was really awesome.
I agree with that. I love the way that they portrayed her in the live action, especially compared to the animated version of that. So love that you said that.
I agree too. You know, and that's what I was saying before, was that Disney kind of doesn't portray the villains so much in the cartoon, in the animated. They don't really want to highlight their badness, I guess. Maybe it's just the different times. But the live action of Maleficent, that's one of my favorites. So yeah.
Yeah.
You know who, since we're talking about Disney, my villain that we have to mention, because you don't see it coming, is Hans from Frozen. Yeah, I loved how Disney did that, because they portrayed him as someone who wasn't a villain and then did this big reveal. And I felt like that was an amazing way to do that for us. I personally was shocked and horrified and wanted to throw something at the theater screen when that happened. So just a little side note for those of you who are fans of Hans or how Disney did that, go ahead and leave us some comment love down below, and we will chat about that after the show in the comments, or maybe while we're on air. All right. So we are talking all about villains today. We want to hear about your favorite book villains. If you have one, if you have recommendations for us, go ahead and hit up those comments below. We're going to talk about what makes a great villain today. So from a writer perspective, from an author perspective, what is it that makes a book villain or any villain so great? JM, let's go to you first.
Well, I think it has to do with why. Like, what is their motivation, and really what's their relationship to the character? Because you've got this story that you've crafted, and it's all about this main character and what they're trying to do, but the villain is this opposing force. But you have to know what the opposing force is. It can't be like bad just for the sake of being bad, or, oh, I feel like my story's kind of boring, I guess I should probably throw a bad guy in there. Like, you really need to have that. I feel like there needs to be kind of that really powerful dynamic in the character, and what makes them tick, and why are they opposing the main character? What about it? Is it because they don't like them? Is it because they're doing something opposite of what their goal is? But I think if you can really kind of nail those things down, you've got a really strong story.
Fantastic. Elle, what do you think?
I agree with that. You know, like, there definitely needs to be a why to your bad guy. You know, what happened to them prior to you meeting them on the page to make them the way they are? Because they're not just one-dimensional. They have, not all bad guys have a reason why. Some are just evil, but there are a lot, and those are my favorite characters that have different layers. Like, something happened to them, this triggers them, and they have a deep motive as to why they're doing what they're doing.
Which I love that, because I'm a big fan of knowing what happened in their past to kind of lead to this point. So I love villains where we don't just see what's happening right now and why they're feeling that way right now, but also what led up to it. What happened when they were younger? What happened with other characters? What did people say and do to kind of trigger that? And I love, tying this into the next part, I love the origins of how villains are created, because not all villains start out as being villains, and sometimes they have really good and pure motives, and things go a little bit wrong. Something happens to facilitate what is going on, and it's not always as black and white and clean as we think that it is, and some stories portray it as being. Sometimes it's little decisions, sometimes it's these little things that all add up, and then maybe they just went a little too far, or maybe they just kind of focused on the wrong place, or something just didn't go quite right, and they turned into a villain. And really it depends on how you are looking at this story, who the villain is, because, and I love it when people say, the villain is not the villain of their own story. They are the hero of their own story, and the other person, the hero, is actually the villain to them. So I kind of love exploring the backgrounds of that, which brings us to chatting about the origins of villains and brings us right back to J.M.'s story, The Rise of Ursula. So let's real quick chat a little bit about the origins of villains and why we love that and why that's so important to know. And then we're going to get into your story. So, Elle, tell me a little bit about why you think knowing the origins of villains is so important and how that impacts stories.
I think it's good to get into their headspace, to really understand their view. And because to them, they're not the villain. They really aren't. It's just they're fighting in life and they're trying to get something. It may be the wrong way, the really wrong way. It may not be the best way at all. But to them, they're just fighting the good fight and they're just trying to make it in life. And some are overachievers in the wrong way. It's just important to know, though.
Listen, that is a great quote. Some villains are just overachievers in the wrong way. Put that out on social media and hashtag that young adult edition, please. And then be fabulous and tag some of us, because we'd love to retweet that and regram that and show that off for you. So great quote. We're going to see that on social later. J.M., what do you think about the origins of villains?
I just think that they're super important in just that character development. And I mean, I have to agree with what Elle said. I think she kind of said it actually perfectly, because you have to know what it is that they're thinking and what it is that that's going through in their life. I mean, like she said, the hero is the villain for the villain, and it's just, you almost wonder if you had flipped the story and told it from the other person point of view, what would the villain say? How would the villain defend themselves? Because it's all a point of view sort of thing. But if you don't really know the background and you don't understand why they think the way they do, then it's really easy to just classify them, oh, they're just bad for this reason, or they're just mean, but it's really, a lot of times, and with the best villains, it's much more complex than that.
And I love that, because we actually do have to look at both sides of the story. And personally, I'm one of those people that's, what's the real story here? What's really going on? Is it the way that we were told, or is there another side to this? And so I'm a big fan of when people actually explore the villains and we find out who really is the villain. And we see that maybe that hero is not as squeaky clean as we thought they were, and maybe there's more going on here. So I love origin stories because it kind of shows us what happened to get them to that point, but then it also shows us that not everything is black and white, and the other person may also be at fault, or maybe is at fault even more so. So that's just me, though, and the fact that I love to twist villains. Fun fact, I actually have a villain story where I take my villain and I turn them into the hero, and the hero is the villain. And it kind of makes logical sense, but it's not coming out until maybe next year, so we'll talk about that later. But that's just me. I'm a big fan of twisting villains and, telling their story in a way that makes them not the villain. Fun times. All right, guys, it is that time of the show where we are talking about our favorite book villains. So if you are here with us live, you're watching the rebroadcast, go ahead and leave us some comment love. Let us know, who is your favorite book villain? We're going to be chatting with the ladies on the screen, but we would love to give your favorite book villain a shout out. Bonus points for tagging the author that you gave them a shout out, and we will let everybody know that is a great book that they should be checking out for an awesome villain. So, Elle, I know you are super prepared for life today.
Yes.
Tell us who your favorite book villains are.
I have two. I will pick a male and a female. I'll start with the young adult, the Grisha trilogy. by Leigh Bardugo. And the Darkling, and that is one of those that we were just talking about. He's decidedly bad. Without spoiling it too much, you can almost see the struggle, like a Star Wars Kylo Ren thing. Like you can almost see him waffling a little bit, and there's hope in you that he comes to the light side. But he is just like, he's bad. He's a villain, and he's one of my favorites of all time. My other one is more of an adult fantasy fiction, and it's by Jacqueline Carey, and that would be her Phaedra's trilogy. There is a character named Melisande, and she is just this charismatic, beautiful woman who can manipulate people into doing exactly what she wants. And she's just so classy. She doesn't need to be foul. She just smiles and she's like, I already know I am 5 steps ahead of you, not 2, 5. You know,
I usually need to read this because I love that.
It's got some adult content in it because it is an adult novel. It's huge. The series, like each book is around 1,000 pages, but she's an amazing bad character, if you want to call her a bad character, because she has massive development throughout the book and the series. And there's a spin-off series that focuses on somebody that is near and dear to her. And you see her develop around that character. So it's very interesting. I loved it.
Fantastic. All right, JM, you are up unless you would like me to go first.
I think I have one, although it may be a little bit of a cheater answer, but you can yell at me later. And the reason is because it turns out with this character, they're not really a villain, but you spend so much time of the book thinking that they are a villain that I think there's a very large population that still would say, no, they're a villain, and that's all there is to it. So my person, I actually chose Severus Snape from the Harry Potter series. Because he really is like, and he's got all of the things that we've been talking about. Like he's got that tragic backstory. He's got this amazing arc. And so he's complex and he has this like really just like layered relationship with Harry and just everybody. And there are people who are like, no, he's evil. No, he's bad. And there's the people who are like, no, he's really not. And I just feel like J.K. Rowling did such a great job with fleshing out his character and really exploring his backstory and what his motivations are, that you can see that, okay, yes, some people could consider him a villain, but in his story, he's not the bad guy. And ultimately, he really isn't the bad guy, but you have to give him that chance and you have to see where his actions lead him to get there.
I love that. I'm a big fan of people making us think that someone's a villain and then revealing that they're really not so much. I think it's kind of fun. For me, my favorite villain, this was a really, really hard decision. And we were actually chatting behind the scenes. We're big fans of dystopian novels. And sometimes it's a little hard to identify some of the villains in dystopia because they're fighting so much. There's a lot going on there. And so it was a little bit hard for me to nail down which was my favorite baddie from these books. But I did come up with one right before we went live, and that would be Morlette of the Krigers series, which is by Jennifer Ann Davis. And it is a YA fantasy book about this girl who discovers that she does have some powers, and she has to kind of figure out what's going on and why she's being hunted. And she's got an assassin after her who ends up kind of working with her. And she has to fight this villain who she doesn't really know why he is killing all of these people and why he's going after everyone. But you find out that he's got this backstory, and there's a reason for it, and then he doesn't necessarily want to be doing the things that he's doing. And so you have to decide, is he a villain or is he a good person doing bad things? Is he making bad decisions? Will he make better decisions? Can he be redeemed? There's a lot going on in her trilogy, and I still don't have an answer at the very end because the last one's not out yet. I did read some of it for her, but I haven't seen what she did to it. She's I love her to death. She's evil. She gave me the entire last book except for the very end and had me beta read it for her. And so I don't know what's happened yet. I don't know how it ends and who is alive and who is not alive, and if we've redeemed certain people and certain people have been lost to the darkness. And so I'm a big fan of Morlet. He is one of those characters where you're really not sure if you like him or not. Like, because you do and you don't. And he's doing really bad things, but you forgive him for a lot of these bad things. So it's interesting. So Jennifer Ann Davis, love you, hate you.
That was evil. That was very evil. Villain.
It was horrible. And I should probably bother her for the end of it because I know she's written it. Because I know she did some changes, but I haven't seen it yet. So I should get on her case about that. But for those of you, since we're giving her a shout out, she just did really, really well with one of her other series. And she's number 70-something on Amazon for best-selling teen and YA authors. So you should check it out if you like good books like that. Just a little shout out there. All right, so Jam, let's get to your origin story. We're going to be talking about the Rise of Ursula. Tell us what you did there.
So the Rise of Ursula is an origin story that follows what exactly made Ursula the poor unfortunate soul that she is, and turned her into the wicked sea witch. And so when I explored it, I wanted it to be different than what people really kind of thought of the sea witch. And so actually, for my backstory, Ursula doesn't even live in the ocean to start with. She actually is she lives on the land, but she is part of this magical community where she has these magical powers and her mother has these powers. But the problem is magic is not allowed in the kingdom because there was, before there was magic and it was embraced, but then the king, he had kind of a fallout with a magician and it really just kind of wrecked everything, and the king's life got really just trashed because of this magician. And so then, he was hurt and he lashed out, and then all of a sudden this magic that's a part of Ursula is no longer allowed, and she has to kind of hide it and hide who she is. And so really she lives a lot of her life in fear. And it's just, I really wanted to see what would make somebody angry enough to want to take over the whole sea kingdom and this whole earth kingdom. And so that was kind of what I explored, and I wanted to see what it was. And she's got a bit of an attitude, and she's a bit snarky, and she can be a little bit snippy, but I mean, she's also like a 13-year-old girl. So she's got a lot going on in her life right now. And I just feel like a lot of Ursula's story is the wrong place at the wrong time, and it was these little choices that turned out to be really just kind of perfect storm for a villain.
And on that same note of people we hate for their endings, you kind of pull some interesting things toward the end of this and all of your books that make us love and hate you. So
Sorry.
You're not sorry.
No.
But that's why we love you, because you have really very, very compelling stories, but also really good endings that make us want to smack you. So,
well, thank you. I think.
Listen, it's better than some things that we could say. I've definitely had my hair threatened to be pulled before.
It's true. So. It's true. By my friend Jessica Julian.
Yes. There was definitely a Snapchat conversation where I was threatened, so that was pretty fun. Oh goodness, yeah, fun times. We love getting feedback from people. So just if you're watching, if you are loving on our books, go ahead and live DM us as you're reading and tell us what you think, because we sit there and we are just so thrilled to hear from you when you do things like that. And so we've got this amazing backstory for the Sea Witch from The Little Mermaid from J.M. Sullivan. It is available right now. You can get your hands on a copy of it. The Rise of Ursula. It's up on the screen right here, which I can't actually scroll my finger over that way, but that's okay. You can see it's on the screen here. Look up The Rise of Ursula if you want to learn a little bit more about the Sea Witch and her story before she became the Sea Witch. It's twisted. It's so different than anything else that you've ever read about this Sea Witch. Highly recommend. Elle and I both enjoyed it quite a bit, as did the rest of my fans, because I force my fans to read things that I like. And they all loved it as well, so you can get your hands on a copy of it. It is a short story, so it's not super long, and you can get your hands on a copy today. Yay, super exciting. We are going to be wrapping this up because we are right at our time limit for today. But guys, thank you so much for joining us. We do appreciate you hanging out here with Young Adult Edition. We've got a lot of really cool things coming up in the next couple of weeks. We cannot wait. We are here every single Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Facebook.com/k.m.robinson Books. That's where you can find us live every single Monday, 10 a.m. with me, K.m. Robinson, and my beautiful co-host, Elle Beaumont, and a new guest star most weeks. Most weeks we have people hanging out with us, and we would love to see you. If you have a topic that you would like us to go over, go ahead and let us know in the comments or DM us, because we would love to get that set up for you. If you're an author who wants to come on, a book community person, or you do something like book candles or a book box subscriptions, or anything that has to do with this industry, we would love to have you on to chat with you about whatever topic we're talking about that day. Next week, we are actually going to be hanging out with author Alicia Gale. We're going to be talking all about books and music. So if you are a fan of music in books, that did not work well for me. There we go. If you are a fan of music and books, we're going to be talking all about books that are about music. Alicia has a great retelling of Jack and the Beanstalk that is centered around music. We're going to be talking about next week. We're also going to be hitting up some really cool bookish playlists, because for those of you that do not know, Elle Beaumont here is the reigning queen of creating book playlists. She's done them for all of my books. She's done them for other people's books. So we are going to let her kind of take over and reign the day next week. It's going to be awesome. Elle is going to have some really fun things for us. Go ahead and just kind of give yourself a shout out there.
Yeah, I absolutely love making playlists for books. I craft them when I listen. Like when I read a book, I just listen to music and it kind of goes with the mood. So I've made some heart-wrenching playlists for KM. So
Because she's got a character that she loves that is a little bit off ship, and so she just sends me these really sad songs. She did it while I was writing the sequel and final book in the duology, and she just kept sending these heart-wrenching things to me, and I'm like, I can't help you. Fun times. But we will be talking about that next week with author Alicia Gale. We're super excited to have her with us. And make sure, guys, you are checking out our Monday magazine. That's going to be up later today over on Instagram. So Instagram.com/k.m.robinson Books. Every single week we are featuring new books. We're featuring new authors. We're talking about what we talked about here on the show. So this goes live in the afternoon on Mondays, lasts all the way until Tuesday, because 24 hours on Instagram stories. And you can learn a little bit more behind the scenes of some of our favorite villain books that we are hanging out and talking about today. And if you are on the rebroadcast or if you are here live, go ahead and let us know in those comments what you want to see more of in terms of book villains. And maybe we will feature you in our Monday magazine or next week on our brand new episode of Young Adult Edition. We're super excited, and we would love to hang out with you guys again next week. Now, before we go, we do have a couple of new releases we want to talk about. So we're super excited because some of our author friends have had releases in the last couple of days, and they are coming up in the next couple of days. So let us pull up that pretty graphic, and we're going to talk about, well, we're not going to talk about it. We're going to show you real quick a couple of really cool releases that you guys should be checking out. I know at least one of these came out today. One of them comes out tomorrow. So make sure you get your hands on copies of these and see if this is something that you are absolutely loving. And if you are an author with an upcoming release, go ahead and let us know, and we will give you a shout out here on this show. We do appreciate each and every one of you coming and hanging out with us. JM, thanks so much for hanging out with us. We may have lost you. Are you still with me? We definitely lost her. Well, we do appreciate you being here, JM Sullivan. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. We hope you all will check out her book, The Rise of Ursula. And stay tuned, because J.M. Sullivan has 2 other series coming out later this year and next year. Her series, The Wonderland Chronicles, is an Alice in Wonderland retelling, which is absolutely fantastic and will be re-released in just a few months from her brand new publisher. And she does have the Neverland Transmissions, which we just finished reading and absolutely loved, coming out next year from her brand new publisher as well. So we are super excited for those. We cannot wait for you guys to see what she is doing over there. Elle, thanks so much for hanging out with me again today and chatting about villains. Go ahead and give your contact information so everybody can hang out with you while I pull that up on the screen.
You can find me at Elle Beaumont Books on Instagram, Facebook, and also at www.ellebeaumontbooks.com.
Fantastic. And in my craziness today, I did not put your or any of our social media tags up in my comments here. So we're just going with names and titles. I am K.m. Robinson, author of the Data Duology, the Legends Chronicles, the Golden Trilogy. Sometimes we have Fun and Fabulous. Yes, I'm mute you for a sec. There we go. I am K.m. Robinson, author of the Jada Duology, the Golden Trilogy, the Legends Chronicles, Virtually Sleeping Beauty, and the Siren Wars saga, which is coming out next month, which I'm really excited about. I hope you guys will stick around and hang out for that. You can also hang out with me at K.m. Robinson Books on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Snapchat. You can hang out on my YouTube. You can come visit me at k.m.robinsonbooks.com, where I've just opened up world portals for all of my series, where you can get behind-the-scenes looks at some amazing things that I do with my series, videos, photos, character stuff. It's really cool. Come check it out, k.m.robinsonbooks.com. And then you can hang out with me on all the social platforms, because I would love to hear from you. You can also hang out with author J.M. Sullivan, who is not here to sign off herself, unfortunately. But you can hang out with her over on her website, which I believe is jmsullivan.wordpress.com. And over on Instagram, she is _JM_Sullivan. She's also on Twitter, but I don't remember her handle off the top of my head. It is similar to that. I think it's the same thing. And then Facebook is slightly different than that. It might be JM_Sullivan. You can just search her here on Facebook. And if you are on our rebroadcast, her link is going to be up in the top part here in the comments, so you can go check that out. It might be below us. I don't know. You can check her out. All of those will be in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We do appreciate you being here. We love hanging out with you each and every week here on Young Adult Edition, and we will see you again next week. Same time, same place. Facebook.com/KMRobinsonBooks. We will be live at 10 a.m. every single Monday. Brand new topics every week. And as always, if you are an author or someone who wants to come on our show and hang out and talk about books, let us know, because we would love to have you. We'll see you next week. Until then, stay inspired. Bye-bye.